What an exciting way to kick off day two. As technology and consumer behaviors evolve, the way we reach audiences is changing faster than ever. The boundaries between paid advertising and organic engagement are blurring, and the brands are discovering that success now depends on mastering both in harmony. In our session of the day, our first session of the day will be paid versus organic, why the line is blurring between search, social, and shopping. Our expert panelists will dive into strategies, insights, and real world examples that show how brands are navigating this new digital landscape. You'll learn practical approaches to integrating paid and organic channels for maximum impact, whether it's on search engines, social platforms, or e commerce spaces. Please join me in welcoming our panelists to the stage with a warm round of applause. We have Catherine, the founder of Catalyst Brand Strategy Pty Limited. We have Abby Das, the CEO of KLOC Technologies PVT Limited. And we have Karina Sargent, Regional Director of Operations at Sonita Senior Living. Let's take it away, and I will let them take over. Enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear us okay? Wonderful. Thanks for joining us this morning. I know it's a little bit of a smaller group, but I think we're on Vegas time today. So thank you for being here. I'm Karina Sargent, and I know it might be a little strange to have somebody with senior living in this environment, but in addition to e-commerce, we also talk about having social and sales and organic online with service. So intangible versus tangible, right? And that's really what Abby and I want to talk about today. So, Abby, I'll let you get started.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. Karina said, I'm from the e-commerce background, so we deal with this every day, like with merchants from all around the world. But it's something very tangible, like you're saying, like the products, right? And what we are noticing now is the funnel, right? The funnel has changed completely. Earlier, it was the traditional awareness, consideration, and then conversion, right? And people would take some time to actually buy something, but that's gone, right? Everything happens just in the feed. Someone just discovers something on an Instagram reel or a TikTok video, and they're able to buy it right there. So they're not actually sending the traffic back to your website, right? It's happening right there. So this requires a completely different mindset. So all these brands have to think how to evolve, right? And how to take advantage of all these other platforms. And you have to be there on all of these, right? Uh, so yeah, that's the big change that we're seeing. And so what I feel is the lines are not blurring; they're actually gone. Yeah, sorry about that. Um, yeah, and what we think is like you have to really figure out where your audience is engaging and possibly, focus on that particular channel, right? What about you, Karina? What have you noticed in your line of business? What has worked for you?
So, I think the biggest thing we notice with a non tangible item, right, is in service industry, everything really since COVID has gone online. Right. So when we go shopping for items online. When we go shopping for service, we also go shopping online. And it's been very easy to have things at our fingertips of, well, I want to know pricing.
Right.
I want to know what these reviews are. I want to know what somebody else thinks instead of that organic search of walking into a place and
Right.
seeing what that feels like. When we can find out what other people are feeling, when we can find out what other people are thinking, it seems to influence a little bit more than what we are feeling and thinking for ourselves. So this is where it comes into play on social versus organic versus paid. And what we've seen in the healthcare industry is we've seen a lot more come from paid and from online and social media than we really have from organic. What I mean by that is social media has heavily influenced the healthcare industry in general. Just from a show of hands in here, how many of you have heard that there has been something negative that happened in a skilled nursing facility during the COVID pandemic? All kinds of hands are going up. How many of you have heard about something positive happening in the assisted living industry during the COVID pandemic? Not a single hand. So, what if I told you that in assisted living during the COVID pandemic, they were still able to continue to have continuity of care, activities, programs, dining services, and family visitation, all while keeping up with medications, with all ADL activities, with making sure that the residents were having the care that was needed and provided to keep them safe and healthy and happy. Would anybody in this room be able to say, yep, that's exactly what I heard? No, because the media, social media, and everything that you saw online focused on the negative. This is where we talk about organic. We want people coming in to experience it. We want people to see how it feels, not just what you read and what you see. There are a lot of paid referral sources
Right.
that filter in through paying people. A Place for Mom, Caring.com. Everybody's probably heard those names. They are great places for paid referral sources. And for a lot of people, they are the only way for sources to be able to provide referrals to them. Our company itself uses A Place for Mom and Caring.com. It's a wonderful way to generate referral sources. However, once we have somebody come in and visit, that's when we know if they're the right fit for the community. And that's how people should experience healthcare through hospital, skilled nursing, senior living, is by that organic generation and by pulling in people from the outside to physically experience it, not just through social media and paid referrals. Make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm so much with you, Karina. So what's happening now is you cannot distinguish between the paid organic content
Mm-hmm.
and the true authentic organic content, right? So they're using whatever the influencer like reels and things like that to actually amplify, the paid part of it, right?
And there we get those two letters, AI.
Yes. So you don't even know if the person is authentic now. So that's something we have noticed, right?
Mhm.
And talking about search, I mean, it's no longer just Google, right? Even on Google, if you're going to put a search term out there, you're going to see the AI assisted whatever, like summary, you're going to see the PLAs or the paid ones and the organic ones.
Mhm.
So everything is blurring now. So it's kind of important to understand that there's no difference between paid and organic now. They're all merging, right? So what's happening is paid is amplifying organic and
Mhm.
vice versa. So you have to really come up with all this organic content and try to boost that if that's working for you. I mean, everyone's heard of the Stanley Cup thing, right? On TikTok, right? They actually raised a lot of money just through that without even being on Google and using the funnel that everyone is used to.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we see happening. And now with AI, everything's changed, right? You don't even know like if they're going to use an AI shopping assistant
Mhm.
or AI is driving the search, right? They're referral engines now, right? So Perplexity, ChatGPT, everything. So now the ChatGPT and all of these LLMs don't really distinguish between paid and organic. Sorry. So what's happening is they have to know that you exist. So visibility is the big thing now. You have to be visible on these LLMs. And how do you become visible? That's where we come in as tech, right? So we make sure that your website is geared for that. Like you have the right structure, you have the schemas in place, and all your content is geared towards this visibility. So yeah, that's something that we are noticing a lot in the e-commerce world.
That's also something we're noticing in the service world. If you position your website correctly, if you position your SEO and your SEM correctly, if you're using the
Yes.
appropriate keywords, then you are able to pull the appropriate audience towards your website. You are able to approach the appropriate people that you want to draw in. And I think that is the key. Whether
Absolutely.
you're using AI, whether you're using paid referral sources, it's your marketability and how you put yourself out
You
there is how
absolutely.
you are going to bring in your correct audience. So I think both on e-commerce and on the service end, it's all about how you distinguish yourself in your market and
Yes.
how you want your representation to be is how you are going to pull in the appropriate audience that you are looking for.
Sure. There's just one issue in all of this, and that's attribution, Karina. So what's
Yeah.
happening is like if you are advertising on multiple platforms, everyone wants to take credit for, that conversion, right? And it's really hard. I mean, brands just cannot distinguish between that different channels that are bringing you the traffic or the conversion.
Mhm.
And the only way to figure this out is to actually do like a test, a holdout group, and do testing and figure out, okay, I'm not going to advertise on this platform. Let me try this. It's literally like the A/B testing of
Yes,
advertising.
it
I
is.
mean, that's what I want to call it because that's the only way to know what's actually working for you.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's really confusing. And now with all the data privacy, with Apple and everything, you can't get that data to truly attribute the conversion to a particular channel. So that's another thing that brands are grappling with.
Absolutely. And I think that's across the board, right? I think when
Yes,
we look at that and we look at how brands are grappling with that, we're also looking at the fact that we have so many influencers that are out there now.
absolutely.
And then you take those influencers and you compound that with what their marketability is,
Yeah,
right? And you want to make sure that their brand standards are also aligning with your brand standards.
yes, yes,
And making sure that that combination is appropriate
sure.
is also, I think, where part of that struggle
You
lies.
bet, you bet. That's right. So yeah, thanks, Karina, for summing that up. Yeah. So I think well, essentially, we've covered like all these different aspects of paid versus organic and how everything is merging and what next for you. I think, you have to figure out which channel is best for you and kind of make sure that the content is actually optimized for that channel.
Mhm.
And that's what's going to get you the right conversions.
Yeah, and I think in the long run, what we're looking at is AI is not going away, right? I
Yeah.
think we are just at the forefront of what things are opening up to. So in tech, obviously, this is something that we are growing with and we are
Yeah.
just learning about, and it's just opening new doors. So
Sure.
for us to be able to grow with it is going to be the best way for us to engineer new ways to grow into the service industry, grow into the e-commerce
E-commerce.
industry,
Yes.
and figure out how to utilize these platforms to optimize visibility and optimize security when it comes to the user end and for how to make it for them where they can use it to the best way possible
Yes.
for their resources. Because we also have to remember it's one of those things that it's like garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So, are we putting in the right information that's leading it to the appropriate audience for them to get the correct information they need to make an appropriate decision?
Right. That's a great point because what we've noticed is brands actually spend a lot on like the advertising, but when you're bringing in the traffic, the experience is broken. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like a big problem, right? Because you've paid so much to get all this amazing traffic to your website, but they're not converting. We get that a lot. Like a lot of brands come to us saying, hey, we're getting all this traffic, what's happening? But then we look at the basics, and a lot of the basics are not in place. Like the information about the product, whatever you need for your purchasing decision, right? Like something as simple as like a size guide. When you're selling clothes, yeah, your size guide has to be so visible, and it's not. It's buried somewhere below and people can't find it, and that's the reason they're not like buying. So things like that. So it's good to get your foundation right, right? Look
Correct.
at your product page or service page and ensure that everything that a customer needs to make a purchasing decision is right there. And content is really the king now. I mean, that's what they've been saying for years, but that's true with the LLMs, right?
Mhm.
It's all about the content because that's what they're looking at. So I think it starts with the basics, and then you could optimize and try a bit of A/B testing to see what's working, what's not working.
I
But
agree.
we've seen that that's helped a lot because if you diagnose that problem, fix it, then it converts.
Absolutely. So we would love to take some time just to open it for questions or
Sure.
comments or any other perspectives on what you guys think, especially since you have two completely opposite ends of the spectrum with e-commerce and service industry. Yes. Mhm. Yep.
In 3 years. Um, what do you recommend from brands to protect the brand, and then also how to use influencers correctly without getting caught in the slop?
I'll let you start on the e-commerce side.
Sure. So if you could just repeat that because I couldn't get the first part of the
Oh,
question.
sure.
Yeah.
Some of the reports that just came out in March
Yeah.
about influencers showed that there was a drastic decrease in the influencer authenticity trust that people have. Whether it's just because there's so many more influencers than there were in 2023 than they are in 2026. But it went from a trust of, it used to be at 60% people trusted the influencers, and now it's at
Yes.
15%. And a lot of that's driven by AI and some of the other things that are out there. With so much of this negativity coming to influencers, how do you recommend businesses use influencers to properly reach out for their products or services, and how to not get caught in that slop?
Right. No, that's a great point. And I think what we are noticing now is brands actually connecting directly with influencers, which was
Mhm.
not happening. They're going through agencies, and hence, like what you said, there was a lot of disconnect, and
Mhm.
that was leading to like a lot of negativity and things like that. Maybe their styles were different, like you
Mhm.
pointed out, and the audience was not right. But now I think brands are taking that into their own hands. They're vetting these influencers and making sure they stand for the brand and the ethos. So there's actually that whole revolution happening that we notice, and it's working for them, right? Because they're listing these they're onboarding these influencers directly, and they're able to utilize their reels, their content, for conversions for paid media, and that's
Mhm.
worked very well in my part of the world. Like in India, there's like a whole like a revolution of micro influencers coming
Mhm.
into the play, and it's worked well. So I think finding the right influencers is super important, and obviously they should be speaking the brand language, and they should stand for the same values, because you can't just pay somebody who's popular, right,
Right.
and make them like talk about your brand if they don't really believe in your ethos, right? Let's say you're a sustainable brand, and you just bring someone who's popular but doesn't really believe in the sustainability values and things like that. I think that's not going to work. So I feel like authenticity is important, and the brands are actually taking that seriously, and they are onboarding the right people.
I agree. I can tell you on the service industry side, the standards have changed because of that. So a lot of the movement has gone more towards reviews, testimonials, and like you said, authenticity. So you're going to see a lot more employees. You're going to see a lot more patients, residents, people that are actually living it as being the ambassadors for it. So I think you'll see that more on the nonprofit side. You're going to see that more in the healthcare side. Anything that is service-based industry, you'll see much more of an experienced person as a representative than you're going to see as an influencer outside. And like Abby was just saying, this is becoming more of a perspective of the companies are selecting instead of influencers being able to just kind of free for all and be able to get paid participants or click my link or anything like that. Now, I think the companies are seeing that there's people that they don't want representing their brands, and they're pulling that back and selecting themselves. These are the people that represent what we want them to represent, and we're going to sponsor them.
Right.
Yes.
Business. So we actually have. Sorry, thank you. Um, love the topic, but in our business, we actually removed our broker referral system, right? So we had a third party originator where we had licensed mortgage loan originators that would come. We're a direct fintech lender. And we went straight B2C, right? So we cut that out and we went right to business to consumer where we act directly with the lender. So if you're looking for a loan, we come to you, right?
Hmm.
What we have found in this process, kind of what you're talking about, is that we found sub affiliates by bringing on affiliate. I had no idea what affiliate marketing was. So I've had a crash course in like the last 6 months, but we we went and we expanded on that, right? And to your point a little bit, I think it goes both ways, right? Where you actually have people that, you know, they don't really fit really into the mold of representing your brand,
Hmm.
but they have like this unbelievable reach because they put this stupid video out on YouTube that gets 3 million views. And for whatever reason, there's some guy who owns a, whatever that needs a business loan, and they watch that, and we get referrals off that because we get feedback from our people. So I think what you're saying is accurate, right? But I wanted to ask a question. How do you determine that, right? How do you determine what the right, in this case, affiliate marketer is for your brand, right? Because they may have a cooking thing on, YouTube or whatever, right? And that's not really the audience we're looking for, but there's like second and third order referrals and business that can come out of that that may not fit into that. I'm a bit cautious to say, okay, this lady over here, she has a cooking channel and that doesn't really fit into direct commercial lending, right? So I just want to like not give her an affiliate link, but she has, 2 million people that subscribe to that channel that, may be interested in our product. How do you make that kind of determination?
I think for direct commercial lending, you said that's what you do,
That's
direct commercial lending. So I can tell you from a perspective of senior living, we would market with somebody who does cooking. And the reason why we would market with somebody that has a cooking channel is because we look at people that like to cook at home. And if they like to cook at home and we have a place that they can still cook at home or have the opportunity to do that, we're going to market to them. So I think something like that, you want to look at your audience, right? So do you have somebody that is a chef at home that may want to open their own business or maybe looking for a loan, or those are the people that you want to target. Are they working at home? Are they homemakers? Are they taking care of kids? Are they considering opening their own business? Those would be the people that I would target that are watching that channel. So I think it's thinking outside of the box, looking at their reach, looking at, there are a lot of reports that you can pull online looking at what their reaches are. And it's just taking that data, and there's a ton of data points that you can pull from, but taking some of those data points and really grouping them to say, okay, is this the marketability that we want? Is this the reach that they want, that we want? And is this the age group that we're looking for, right? So if you're marketing that 30 to 60 year market, and this is targeting 16 to 25-year-olds, that's probably not the affiliate you want to
right.
partner with, right? But if this is a marketability age of 30 to 60-year-olds and they're working from home and this is the average income they have, then yeah, it might not seem like the direct place you want to go, but it probably is, especially if they have a large reach, because you're probably going to get a 20% return on your investment.
Yeah. Thank you
Right.
so much.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I was really looking forward for this session for mainly because as someone that represents platforms,
Mhm.
I am definitely curious to hear like just generally the perspective on how people who are not from the Googles, the Reddits, and the Pinterests of the world, how are they perceiving and their understanding of these blurred lines? So I'm loving the conversation. Um, my one question for you is, as someone I have been trying to understand, as someone from the platform side, is um, as you are directly engaging with brands and having these conversations, and I know that um, digital marketing has become much more complex than ever, and guess what? It's going to become even more complex. I'm curious to would love to hear your thoughts on like what are the most common challenges that come up where you are essentially trying to like help like like uh like address these
Mm.
misconceptions and the core worries or the core concerns,
Yeah.
and then what is your advice for platforms like us to be able to help support you in that journey?
Sure. I think the first thing that I find is the content, right? The content itself is not right. So I say that before you start any sort of paid campaign, just look at the campaign. I mean, of course, the platform is important, like where you're going to put your money, because you have to optimize for it. But the core content has to be right, right? Because, like Karina was saying today, the AI engines are the ones that are bringing in a lot of traffic, and that
Mhm.
everyone knows that's where we're going. And for them to understand what you're selling, everything should be put down there in plain language. It's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complex, but it has to be structured. And I feel that we advise them on getting the basics right, which is the content. That starts with that. The second thing is like figuring out which audience they're marketing to, like you said, right? And where that audience finds them, right? So, and that comes from data. Honestly, that's the data-driven decision. We look at reports, we look at their Google Analytics, their Clarity, and all sorts of tools. We figure out that okay, most of the traffic is coming, let's say, from Instagram, right?
Mhm.
So what sells on Instagram today? And we deal mostly with e-commerce, so we're seeing reels getting a lot of traction. So we say, okay, we don't see any reels on your website. So, hey, you need to now optimize for that. So, and it can be just simple product reels. It doesn't have to be influencer reels or anything like that. And then we start from there. Then we actually advise them to change the content even on the platform
Mhm.
because everything has to talk to each other, right? And then when they discover them there, they come to the website. That's where we optimize the whole conversion journey or the funnel, right? We make sure that they land at the right place, they can find everything, and nothing in that checkout journey is broken. So that's another key concern for us because if it takes time to load, that's one of the key problems in e-commerce. The page doesn't load, things like that, or even if the shipping rates are too high or whatever, we know that people are going to drop. So we look at everything, the entire 360-degree view of the whole website and where they're coming from. We try to help them through this entire journey, right? And we've seen that uh, help them, get more ROI on their investment.
I think a key point to what you said to Abby that crosses all lines is
Yeah.
that optimization, right?
Yes.
It has to be optimized if you're looking at it online, but it has to be optimized if you're mobile. Because if you're thinking about it, everybody in here has a cell phone. Everybody here glances down at your cell phone. If it is not optimized for cell phone capabilities, they are not going to use it.
Yeah.
So optimization across the board that it's at your fingertips, it's easy to see, it's easy to read, it's easy to use, and it's easy to click on.
Right.
That is what you
Absolutely.
absolutely
And
need.
yeah, and it's also the mobile first thing, right?
Yeah,
Like if your website looks great on the desktop, but it's not optimized for
correct.
mobile, it's not going to work because everybody's on the mobile, right? So
Everybody's on their
simple
phone.
things like that, but it still matters. So I don't know if I answered your question, but if you can tell me like what you do and what uh, product or platform you're engaged in, I could
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
least.
So I'm currently a product marketing manager at Reddit, and I
Okay,
am essentially like helping Reddit to grow their ad side of the business.
that's
And
great.
so we are, I mean, what's interesting is that Reddit is kind of in a platform where we're basically trying to prove that the organic and paid, there is this symbiosis that exists. And so as you are working with brands directly, and yes, we are working with brands directly as well, but
Right.
again, I am the platform person, and those whatever I say will be very biased and with a hidden agenda. So, and from that very perspective, I want to hear like your thing is like, hey, how can I help you?
Mm,
What is
sure.
what is your ask from us as platforms that
Okay.
we can help make the conversation much more easier for you when you're having with brands?
That's amazing because it's now with all the LLMs
Mhm.
playing such a big role in discovery, Reddit's like right on
Right
top
on top.
because Reddit is all about authentic content.
Hmm.
And that's what sets it apart, right? They're highly moderated groups, and we are actually advising some of our brands to engage on Reddit. And our first advice is please don't sell. Don't sell. Just talk about your product, say why you are different, and the selling will happen anyway, right? Because people will engage and they'll ask you questions. You can say, hey, why your product is better. Now, I saw like there's so many great products outside being showcased about like,
There's a
so
lot of red light therapy out there.
yeah, but the thing is about that, like in Reddit, it's all like the impartial view, right?
Right.
So if somebody's used it and they said, "Hey, I use this, it's great," they're gonna believe them.
Mhm.
But if you start selling, that's it. It won't work. But it's really strange because we just a few weeks back we were telling a apparel brand to go engage on Reddit, and we said that okay, there are about they sell handcrafted, like sorry, hand woven fabrics and things like that. So we said you're going to talk about how you've helped the handloom weavers in India. Talk about things like that. Don't talk about your products or don't sell, but engage with your audience because you find the right Reddit group and you kind of engage with the audience, and that's how you're going to get traffic. So it's really interesting to know that you're from Reddit because we're actually advising a lot of people to go and start engaging there with their real audience.
Yeah.
And I also want to clarify, this is not a planted question. This is purely an organic thing.
Yeah.
So we do not know each other.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. Are there any other questions, comments? No? Well, we really appreciate everybody's
Thank you.
time today. Thank you for being
Thank you.
part of this and for being here in Vegas with us. Abby and I are both available after if anybody
Sure.
wants to meet one-on-one, but thank you for being part of this day and for
Thank you.
listening. Have a great time, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.